Henry was a 54-year-old man from California. At the time of his death, he had been going through a divorce from his wife of 10 years. They had two young sons together, but were estranged. Henry had been an avid outdoorsman until a motorcycle accident left him unable to walk without assistance. Henry was also very gifted with electronics and found a passion in the ham radio community. He was also described as helpful and always willing to lend a hand. On June 1st, 2018, a hiker was walking in the Joshua Tree National Forest when he spotted vultures circling around one specific area. The hiker believed the vulture had found the body of a dead animal. He took photos and showed them to his wife the next day. However, his wife believed that it was something more sinister, so they contacted the Joshua Tree National Forest. The vultures were still there when the rangers arrived, as well as a coyote. The rangers noticed distributed ground. In a shallow grave was the bottom half of a human body. It was clear to the rangers that the body had been buried there for about 2 weeks. The Riverside County Sheriff's Office was called in. When the police arrived, they realized they were looking at the body of a middle-aged white male. He had been buried in what was described as too shallow grave. The upper torso had been buried, but the lower half hadn't been buried well. It cleared to the police that the victim had been killed elsewhere. There was no evidence in the desert. The killer had been inexperienced and had panicked when burying the victim. The body was taken in for an autopsy. The medical examiner could tell that there were multiple skull fractures due to blunt force trauma. The cause of death was ruled as homicidal violence. The medical examiner was able to obtain a fingerprint sample. The prints led to identifying the victim as Henry. The police went to Henry's home. There was no one home as Henry had been living alone. The doors were locked, but the police were able to force the front door open. When the police walked into the garage, they found a large pool of blood. Police department was then called in to take over the case. The crime scene told the police that there had been a brutal fight. Henry had been hit, leading to him falling down, and had been attacked again as he laid on the garage floor. The police collected blood samples, but there were no unidentified fingerprints or shoe impressions found at the scene. The police did know that the killer had tried to clean up the scene. There had been a heavy smell of bleach, and they removed the violence that Henry had hung up in the garage. Police learned about Henry's divorce by speaking to his mom and two sisters. However, it was soon apparent that his ex-wife hadn't been involved. She was able to tell the police that Henry had stopped using his utilities on May 24. The police also learned about Henry's ham radio hobby. He had been on the airwaves every day for a year until May 24, which is believed to have been the day that he died. Henry had a very controversial way of speaking on the radio. He told his family that he had been attacked in January and that he thought it had been members of the ham radio community. Henry put up the surveillance cameras after the attack. There were two brothers from the community that were looked into. They had said a lot of bad things about Henry online and even threatened him. However, they were ruled out. The police also learned from Henry's ex-wife and family that he had a new love interest. Henry's family hadn't met her and thought that Henry was moving way too fast. The young woman's name was Ashley Stepp. Ashley was 27 years old and had once been addicted to prescription drugs. Police knew that Henry had been prescribed Oxycontin due to his motorcycle accident. They wondered if Ashley had become involved with Henry after learning this. She was known to hang out with people who supplied her drugs. Henry's neighbors knew of Ashley as well. They saw her often and said that they would wave hello to her. They also described her blue Honda with damage to the front end. The neighbors told the police that Ashley had driven by Henry's home on the day that the police started their investigation. She had driven by, but failed to reach out to Henry's family or police about what had happened. The police soon learned that Ashley was already involved in a serious relationship with a man named Curtis, a first lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps. The police obtained phone records from May 24 for Ashley and Curtis. It placed them at Henry's house on the day he died. The police had no physical evidence, but they decided to wiretap their phones. They also came up with a ruse. Ashley had a brother that lived across from the police station. They went to his home and asked if he knew the people in a photo. The photo was of his sister with Henry. Ashley's brother identified his sister but didn't know who the man was. He said he was going to send Ashley a picture of the photo and asked if she could identify someone they were looking into. Within 30 minutes, Ashley called her brother and said she didn't know about the picture or about any crime. After she hung up with her brother, Ashley called Curtis. On the phone, the two incriminated bad things out of themselves. They spoke about loading Henry's body into Curtis' truck, about if any of Henry's neighbors had seen them, or if anyone had seen them burying Henry in the desert. The couple was arrested. When Ashley was brought into the police station, she denied being involved. However, the police confronted her and said that they had her basically admitted to it on the phone. Ashley soon changed her story. She said she saw Henry's body in the truck. She withheld Curtis' name to the police, but they had already known who else was involved. Ashley said Curtis was controlling and monitored her every move by looking at her GPS. He said Curtis found out about Ashley and Henry and was jealous. Ashley said that it was Curtis' idea to cover up the crime. They rolled Henry into a blanket, put him in the truck, and drove him out to Joshua Tree National Forest. Curtis was questioned, but he lawyered up. The police presented their case to the DA. However, the DA told them that they didn't have enough physical evidence. Curtis was released but rearrested in December 2018 and held in a military establishment. Curtis' cousin contacted police and told them that Curtis had tried to kill Henry before in January 2018. The cousin's story lined up with what Henry had told his family. Ashley also knew about the previous attack and told the police where they could find the bent hammer that Curtis thought he had killed Henry with the first time. The police decided to make a deal with Ashley. Ashley pled guilty to being an accessory after the fact. She was sentenced to 10 months in custody, 3 years probation, and to a drug rehab program. Curtis was charged with second-degree murder. His trial began in August 2020. Curtis was portrayed as a very jealous individual. He testified and denied being jealous, but the prosecution had pages of records that said otherwise. He also said that he went to Henry's because he thought Ashley was being raped by Henry. Curtis was found guilty of a second-degree murder and was sentenced to 18 years to life in prison. Henry's family is devastated by Ashley's deal. They believed she used Henry and that it led to his death. In 2019, Ashley was arrested again for violating parole after leaving her treatment program early. She has since been released again. So, young agents, write down what do you think about this case. Thank you for watching this episode and see you in the next one.